Hello there and welcome to Memeobi's Galaxy. I am your host, Memeobi. Thank you for joining for this special episode talking all about Andor Season 2. We have watched the premiere, the first 3 episodes, and I am joined today by my co-host, Ethan. Hello, Ethan. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. Excited to talk about Andor.
Rating 1 to 10, first 3 episodes, go.
Ooh, 8.
8. That is about what I would say. It's pretty solid. But if you're joining today, there are major spoilers for the premiere of Andor. If you do not like spoilers, you should click away from this now. But if you've already watched it or just don't care, this is a great place for you to start.
Or if you're like me and you like spoilers, listen in.
Yes, if you want to know exactly what happened. We're not going to talk about every single point that happened in the show. We're going to talk about highlights, and we're going to stick with it by planet basis, because I cannot remember what episode had what scenes. So, starting off, we are starting with Andor sneaking into not an Imperial base. It is a manufacturer of ships.
Yeah.
It is the same manufacturer that makes the Jedi Starfighters in Episode 3.
Wow.
And that is a deep cut to Star Wars, and they named it correctly. The name of this, I forget the name of the facility, was originally...
I don't remember either.
Was originally named in the Clone Wars show. So I think it's really cool that this show is taking these deeper cuts and fleshing them out in this show. So what did you think about the overall heist of the unknown, like, TIE Interceptor type ship?
I thought it was pretty cool. From the beginning, we noticed that him going in there, he had someone already on the inside with him, like trying to keep it secret with him.
Yeah.
You know, and she was so nervous.
She had
so
just joined
scared
the
about
Rebels.
it. Yep, she had just joined. And obviously they're wearing Imperial clothing, you know, and they're trying to secretly do all this. And she's just, you know, just joined the Rebels, probably never done anything like that before.
At that point, she was working at this facility full time.
Yeah.
They recruited her after she started. So she wasn't, like, planted in as a rebel.
Right.
She was already, like, an employee. Yeah, she was stressed.
Yep. I mean, I think that's how I would feel, you know, if I'd been in a job for a while and you know people are watching you and you have a boss there and there was someone that literally came in and checked on her, you know, and that was like the most nerve-wracking thing ever for her. And Andor was great about it, though. He was great about calming her down, staying normal, you know, and like, why are you standing side to side to me when you're talking? You know, like, look at me straight on. Tell me what's going on. You know, I thought I was about to ask that. I remember when we were watching it. I was like, why is she standing sideways?
I think she was probably told, like, this is a spy, so don't look at him. So that way you don't know who he is.
Oh,
is how I took it.
That makes sense.
Like, she didn't want to know who he was, but he didn't really care. He gave her like a big speech and got her like riled up and ready to go for it. He got the codes. And then he went and stole the TIE fighter. One complaint I got was people didn't like how he wasn't perfect, is what I got in a comment about. Meaning he was kind of like stumbling over himself. He wasn't sure how to fly the ship. And stuff like that, and they didn't like that.
But why would he know how to fly it?
I know, because he's supposed to be perfect and stuff. He's supposed to be this rogue, awesome guy. But I think it's basically what it's showing is a new type of TIE Interceptor that was never actually mass produced. There was a new type of controls, right? Because like later we find out that one girl doesn't know how to fly it, so they're showing that like this one wasn't actually used in the Empire later. So he takes off.
Right, because it had that. Do you remember what it's called? The thing on the bottom that it would like light up green.
The big laser.
Yeah, the big laser. Because that was what was new about it. And
that and then the controls were different. Right. So, and then had 2 places to sit.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a weird comment to make. Then if they're like, he should be perfect at this.
I know.
Why?
Maybe this person didn't think about it all the way.
Yeah.
I will say it's interesting. There are jump seats, right? So there's 2 extra seats in a TIE fighter, in that TIE Interceptor, which they don't normally have.
Right. They just have the one.
Right, because the Empire is notorious for not caring about their pilots. They don't have shield generators on TIE fighters.
That is interesting.
Did you know that? TIE fighters don't have shield generators because the Imperials consider...
They'd rather they just die off.
Yeah, they it's cheaper and faster to make them, and they consider people...
So this is more of an expensive ship, we would say.
Right, and I think that's why it wasn't taken up by the Imperials overall. So
I wonder for Andor to get to that place, like he would have already had to prove himself quite a bit as an Imperial pilot.
No,
I think get some sort of unique uniform. Or?
No, I think he probably stole it. I think.
Oh, really?
I think he just snuck in and said he was a new recruit.
Huh?
I don't think he went through the ropes at all. Because in season 1, he talks all about like you just have to you just walk into the place like you own the place.
I feel like he would have been wearing his helmet more. That's something that I felt like. You know, he just carried it with him. He never put it on once.
No one knew who he was. No one knows Andor as a rebel. So he's not hiding his identity. It'd be weirder if he just wore his helmet as a recruit.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right. Okay, so he escapes. The stormtroopers try to fight him. They just he blows his way out. Boom, bop, bip, he's gone.
Yeah. Right after the huge struggle of the doors closing in on him,
yes,
and he has to cut a hole in the wall, and we called it. He's going to shoot at the stormtrooper, and it's going to blow a hole in the wall that he burst out of.
Yeah.
But it was a cool scene.
I will say it is a lot like playing a new Starfighter game where you don't know how to fly very well originally. And you kind of bump into stuff, trying to do the smaller areas.
It did feel like we're about to see a cool new game when he was flying. The whole POV of him flying through there and out of there. It was cool.
I think it was fun. And then so he escapes. He makes a great escape with all the people. Shoots some other TIE fighters or whatever. He escapes and he goes to Yavin 4, which we first saw in A New Hope.
Yeah.
And he lands to meet up with his contact, finds out his contact is no longer there, and there is a new rebel cell that is there that was first mentioned, I found out, in Andor Season 1. Saw Gerrera mentions them. He's like, this group, he's like, they're so, unruly. They don't know what they're doing. And Saw Gerrera is very against all these other groups because they're not coordinated very well. So
yeah, they definitely weren't.
No, they were not. Their leader had left, and they had a bunch of, I don't know. A lot of people were kind of bored by that whole scene of them just bickering and stuff and the whole bit.
Yeah. But I think it showed well to who they were, and some of them being younger and stuff too. It showed well to their age, and I don't know, it was cool. They just got in a fight about it, and then they just stood on different sides of the clearing area.
I think, and then
both avoiding the monsters.
And then they ended it up just by doing rock paper scissors, basically.
Yeah,
to end it. But again,
I was expecting a huge wrestling fight or something, and then they just did a fancier rock paper scissors,
which I was fine with. But what I will say, I think what it's trying to represent is showing that, right? Because every set of 3 episodes, right, it's a year apart, so it's going to show as the rebellion gets more and more strong. It's showing that in 4BBY, when this 3 episodes are set, the Rebel Alliance is not really an alliance yet. It's just a bunch of little rebel cells. They're infighting. That's the way the Imperial wants them. They want them to infight and not actually be able to grow and have a real thing. And I think it's going to show the contrast as it goes more and more. By the time we get to episode 4 of A New Hope, how well maintained they are and how well together the Rebel Alliance actually is.
That's a great point. I definitely see that. So is that kind of be the building of this show then, you think, is this alliance, who all they're forming in it and building together?
But not necessarily these people we see.
Yeah, no, but everyone.
Yeah, I think this the whole show is just going to show how the Rebel Alliance is built on the back of Andor and people like him.
Yeah.
And how they're going to join together on all these different rebel cells, basically, since they all kind of work independently of each other.
Yeah.
So it was kind of just not, it did show a lot how Andor is a really good leader. Because he's like, hey, you guys are fighting. You probably should get some water. It's raining. He was very calm.
It's not going to rain forever,
he was very on top of things and a really good leader. And I think it's showing how later he does grow to be this rebel leader basically in the rebellion. Because he is good at what he does, obviously. So he then just escapes basically.
Yeah, they put the worst person to guard him. They all didn't like that guy or whatever.
Yeah,
they're like, you guard him, and he just got pushed over for no reason and stuff. Yeah. Everyone was kind of, they were funny, they were interesting, but definitely not coordinated. And
no,
I bet if they kept Andor with them, they could have turned into a really great team.
Yeah, I think so.
They just need a leader.
Yeah, I think that's what it's trying to show is all these little rebel cells just need someone to coordinate their efforts.
Yeah.
So he escapes. So I guess let's just go naturally as it would flow. So when he escapes, he then pulls a Luke Skywalker, right? So he calls and he's like, hey, I need to call home. And she's like, don't call home. He's like, why? He's like, well, they're under attack. And he's like, he just kind of hangs up on him. That's what Luke Skywalker does in episode 5.
Yeah.
He's like, I got to go save my friends.
He's like, I'm going right now.
Yeah. So Andor just books it home, dive bombs the planet. So now let's talk about...
Also, to comment on what you said, that other commenter said earlier, to show his kind of perfectness of him being a good pilot, he already is good at flying it,
He's
sure, he went up to space and he had to figure out all the controls then, but already when he left those kids and stuff, you could tell he was a better pilot already, so... I still think it shows that he is a good pilot and he's good at what he does. So
yeah, I think he's good at figuring stuff out. So now we cut to, I forget the name of the planet, the wheat planet.
All the wheat farmers.
The wheat farmers. So we have our 3 rebels, quote unquote. They're friends of Andor from, I forget the name of his planet too. It's a bummer. I had all these like in my mind. I was like, I was thinking through it earlier, and I was like, I got the name. Anyways, his 3 friends, and they're all illegal immigrants, basically living on a planet, harvesting, fixing things, right? And I like this slow pace of the show. I like showing, like, to me, it does feel Star Wars-y, right? Because we have things like Lothal from Rebels, which is a big wheat planet. Yes, we don't show the day-to-day usage of like people just harvesting.
Yeah.
But I love showing like all these farmers get together and they eat lunch together. There's a big space yak in the back. There's droids running around, right? Like
the space yak look cool.
I like that. There's a big practical set and like everything feels very Star Wars-y to me. It doesn't feel like spacey,
right?
But it feels like down to earth Star Wars-y. And
having that be a little bit slower showed the importance of Andor being there sooner and how late he was. You know, because them being illegal, they were really risking with these checkups that were coming from the Imperials. You know, because this checkup, I remember they were saying it was like randomly they would be checking people's visas or whatever it was.
Yeah, pretty much.
And because of whatever's going on with Andor has been talked about in the Imperial Army right now. Yeah. They're checking everyone's visas. So Andor had to get there right away. Yeah. And that was why they were worried the whole time. Yep. And we'll get more into that in a second. But
I think it's interesting. So like they have these migrant workers that are working on the fields, and that one guy, when that guy betrayed him in the end, the farmer. Yeah. I thought it was it was like a ploy, like, oh, hey, I betrayed you, but like it's just like a bit we're doing. I thought it was gonna be like a bit because the way he like nodded at the rebel guy.
Oh yeah.
I thought, this is like a bit. He's going
like now we're gonna get him from behind.
Yeah, I thought it was like you turned me in. Oh man.
I didn't see that, but
but it wasn't in the end. Yeah. And obviously, in the end, he was there to protect his family.
Right.
It seemed like
it's kind of like he had no choice.
It seemed like he cared about the migrant workers, but obviously he had to choose his family over that.
Well, because think about it this way: he was put in a tough position. He has all the family and workers and everything there that are just relying on the words of these 3 rebels that said their friend is going to be here anytime now. You know?
Andor, I think at that point did live there with them, though. I think he did know Andor.
But also communication being down.
Right. Yeah. You can't do anything.
How are they going to know? They were just fully trusting the words of the rebels. So I don't blame him for turning them in or betraying them.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but But I think then you have the classic love story with what's his name and like the farmer girl. Like I don't know. I thought it was fun. I thought it caused problems in the end, but I thought it fit. It felt to me. These scenes kind of feel Clone Wars-y, you know, because sometimes in the Clone Wars they just go to some random planet and they figure out like a dispute between 2 farmers. Yeah. And like you don't see that much like grandiose like.
It does feel Clone Wars-y. Yeah.
It felt like just like you go to a planet and you do a little couple episodes about like infighting and then you get out of there. So in step the Imperials. Yeah. And we have what people are saying like the new most hated Star Wars character, the new Imperial guy officer that comes in and tries to get with Bix or whatever.
Oh, the one that
the lieutenant.
Are you still talking about in the wheat field? That guy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He was terrible at flirting and then made it a lot worse.
Well, right. He wasn't trying to actually flirt. So
yes.
But I think
that was intense. You know, I remember I turned to you and I was like, "Wow, I can see why this Andor series it's not a kids show." You know?
No. And I have had that complaint like, well, Star Wars should be able to be shown to kids. And my thought was like, well, I think they have the rest of Star Wars movies, and sometimes, people have been calling for like an R-rated Star Wars show for a long time. I don't think they should go that far because I think they'll just add silly things that are R-rated just for the sake of being like, But like, but that was the comment I got was like this like sexual assault that happened in this or they attempted was like too heavy, and I don't think it was because it didn't go too far in my mind. It just like he grabbed her and then like she fought back. Basically, is all that happened. And I'm glad it didn't go any farther than that. Just for like this for Star Wars in a whole. But I think what it really shows is he was trying to manipulate her into thinking that like he put it back on himself. Like this is his problem. Like, oh, woe is me. I have to deal with this. And like you like undocumented like migrants basically But it goes to show.
Yeah, you have no idea how much work I have to do, and it's like taking that pain out onto her.
I think
I deserve this from you.
Yeah.
You know.
I think it shows just the corruption of the Empire, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you have people with this much power all across the galaxy, like, you know, he's not the only one that's doing this type of thing. So it's showing kind of like another reason that people hate the Empire now, because they're overreaching, they're taking advantage of people, they're pushing their like ideals and all this stuff on them.
And I feel like normally she would be stronger too, but of course she's been tortured recently, so she's not fully herself to be able to defend herself.
Yes, she definitely has. So in the intro where we first go to that wheat planet, we get a dream sequence basically where a person comes and that guy, I figured out who he was.
Oh, nice.
He is the doctor that tortured her.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense, right?
His outfit kind of confused me. Like when I saw him walk in, it almost looked more of like a Jedi style wear,
yeah, it's
but
like
all
a weird,
gray.
It's like a weird Imperial doctor thing.
Yeah,
he's very like
that makes sense though.
Yeah, so that's, and then like the same sounds, like they did some cool stuff with the music. The sound that's made when she sees him in the dream sequence is the same sound when like the Imperial guy starts cornering her. Mm-hmm. It's like the same, like, oh, this is like a fear sound kind of deal. But I thought it went well, and then Andor shows up, right? Starts blowing people up, shooting everybody.
Right.
And then we have a death.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
The death of Brassen.
Brasso?
Brasso.
Brasso.
I think it's Brasso. Is it Brasso? I thought it was Brassen.
I don't think there's an N. Oh. It's Brasso.
I'm just remembering it that way.
Brasso, dead.
Yeah.
Andor escapes with the hoodie boy and bricks.
Yep. But he didn't get his droid.
I know. I'm sure we'll come back to that.
B
is not done. Yeah. Like, they can't get rid of B. He's like one of the...
He's probably still on the charger, that old droid that needs it.
He's going to have to come back and rescue him. Probably in next episodes, I imagine.
Maybe.
Even he's not in Rogue One.
Yeah. I mean, those farmer people seem like nice people that are probably... We're going to come back to B and he's going to be well taken care of. Or maybe they even fixed something on him. One of their local mechanics or something made him a better droid now. You know,
they put his mind into KS20.
Yeah,
K2SO.
Ooh, that's crazy take.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah. I don't think that's gonna happen, but that's a cool take.
Whoa, maybe. So I wonder when we're gonna get K2SO.
I think that we could actually get K2SO from them, but I also think that they're upset at them right now, and I don't see them wanting to come back anytime soon.
I don't think we're going to see them anytime. I think we're either going to get them off screen because there's a year between all of them.
Yeah.
Or we'll see. So let's see. Anything about the wheat planet? I mean, I like the wheat planet. I like showing just like, I love just world building of Star Wars. I love just seeing the world and how like they live in the natural world, right? So like the idea is doing the contrast of they live in the very natural kind of like hardship one, and then like the Chandrillans is like very fancy, and they don't think about these like people happening. And then like the Imperials is very like, the whole point is like Luke Skywalker lives in a dome house, right? And like these farmers live in like more dome things and more natural things. And the Empire is very like hexagons and right angles and stuff, showing the difference.
Even the way that like their silos looked and everything, you know, the wheat silos. And I thought it was cool how he killed some of the stormtroopers with it, you know, shot the silo, drops all of it on them.
Using the natural world to kill the enemy.
Yeah.
So I can't think of anything else on that planet specifically.
Not really. It was kind of just more of a good holding place while they're waiting for Andor. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. I mean,
you got to meet some cool people.
Yeah, and we got to know kind of like the core group a little bit better, understanding her, because we didn't really know Bricks that well.
Right.
I hope that's her name. Pretty sure it is.
Bricks. The redhead gal.
No, the regular girl.
Oh.
The main character girl.
Oh yeah.
Bricks.
Yeah.
So that was technically the end of the episode of the show. So let's go back to the most interesting part to me was the Imperials on the special planet with Admiral Krennic. This part fascinated me a ton. So Admiral Krennic is tasked by the Emperor to create the Death Star, but he hasn't come out and said that yet at this point. Mm-hmm. He's hired a group of people, a group of Imperials that he trusts, that he thinks can get the job done. But we learn that there's a lot of money that goes into the Death Star, and the Imperial Senate.
Yeah, they have like a whole funding process,
right? But they're funding it under the guise of a energy project.
Yeah.
So they're pretending like the Death Star is like a big energy project to make more energy for the galaxy, and that's how they're funneling money and resources into it. because they can't just have the Imperial Senate won't just green light a
Right.
Death Star.
Yep.
So what they're doing is the planet of the silk spiders, Goren,
I don't remember the name of the planet.
with a G. Sorry guys, Goren. I'm going to say is like kind of like a uppy kind of place, and it's cool to hear how the Imperials are going to do like a smear campaign on them to make them look like they're bad, plant like rebel cells there to make them have a reason to come and attack, because they want to mine the entire planet to nothing. They want to make it where it's uninhabitable.
Yep.
And since I looked up on the map of the galaxy, it's one of the core worlds. Like it's pretty close to the like Coruscant. So it's like one of the main core worlds, like Naboo and stuff. Like it has a lot of pull in the Senate and stuff. So it's interesting. I don't know. I just love seeing like the everyone just seems scared, right? But like that's what the Empire is built on.
Yeah.
It's literally built on fear of the Emperor, and then everyone's a fear. That's like a pyramid, literally a pyramid scheme, where everyone's scared of the person ahead of them.
And the Imperial, they're big into traps too. Like that's totally their thing. You know, it's like, how are we going to set this up so we can get everyone here, and then we've tricked them and have all the control. You know,
and
that's power and control.
It's power and control. I love the actor who plays Admiral Krennic. I think he does a killer job.
Yeah, it's cool to see him introduced into this.
And then, what is her name? I'm so bad at names. The Imperial gal. Don't knock over my Jar Jar stuff. The Imperial gal who was in the Attack on the in season 1. She still wants to find Axis, which is Skarsgård's character.
Right.
What's his name? Wait, we just said it.
I'm looking it up right now.
Lauren. No.
Luthen?
Luthen, yeah.
Luthen Rail.
So she still wants to find Luthen because she wants kind of closure from her last mission, I feel like.
Right.
But when realistically she just needs to move up and go on. I love that scene, just like how they're eating and like talking about overthrowing like a whole planet, and like how it's kind of casual. Like we just have to do this because they need the minerals to make the Death Star core, basically.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I like how they...
It was interesting too to see like they were assigning different people to different things.
Yeah.
And Dedra, however you say her name.
Yeah, Dedra.
She, because of this whole search with Andor, big thing that she's been doing, and it has not been successful yet, she's almost been demoted to like a lower job now. Because
it looks like a lower job, but in reality, it's working on the Death Star, which is much higher of a job.
Right.
Like
she didn't take it very well.
No, she did not. But she is kind of hung up. She kind of is like almost power hungry to find Axis, which is Luthen character, because he's like the one that's operating all of the rebels at this point. Wow, sorry. So she goes back to Coruscant. She's not happy. She goes home. Turns out she's in a relationship with what's his face, and he's like
it's Cyril Karn.
Yeah.
The Dwight Schrute of Star Wars.
He's so OCD and like.
I just love his like whole like super straight posture and stance. You know, he's very unique.
I love his speech he gives to the new guy. He's like, when I started here, I found the biggest leak of money in the galaxy, and you like implying that he needs to find something. Yeah,
he's so
deeper.
Nerdy sounding.
He's so intense.
I know you haven't seen Suits, but he reminds me so much of the IT guy in the movie in the show Suits. You know, it's just like that's how he is. You know, he's just this nerdy guy, but also very intense. You know,
he's very intense.
Won't back down.
And he is kind of like we find a little bit of backstory about him. Right, his dad ran away to go to adventures, and that's kind of why he wanted to go be police officer for a while and like kind of show that he can be a man. And his mom kind of like always like, you know, ragging on him all the time.
Yeah, his mom
is so intense. She's a great actor. I love her.
Called him higher for sure, you know, but in a mean way. You know, it was like almost telling him he's worthless, you know, and just really condescending to him. And
and then Dedra just puts her in her place.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought it was great.
Oh yeah, so because she finally invited her over for a dinner so that they could meet him, and she
kind of like makes a mess, kind of showing that she.
This is kind of our first time seeing that they're like actually together now, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So they're living in the same apartment. Yeah. So that was cool to see. Like this is their relationship now. They've invited the mom over, and the mom was just being a jerk the whole time, eating the food really weirdly.
Right. I think the whole point was she was trying to like show dominance, like I kind of own the place. I'm just like making a mess everywhere. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, he's like, you're dripping, you know, and she's like, pfft.
After he went and spent so much time to like not like make sure it was all straight for her.
It was so funny when he like got upset. He's like, I need to walk away for a second, and he's just like 5 feet away in another room, just awkwardly laying down on the bed.
Like a child sulking in the corner.
But that's when Dedra put her in her place. Yeah. He's like,
and I think that
just, we're not going to have this anymore.
That's probably setting up the rest of the season. We're going to see as this grows every year, it's going to be slightly different, their relationship and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to see.
But you can see she had more respect for Dedra because of that too. She's like, you know what? I like this girl.
Yeah. I don't think she's going to be, I'm sure she'll be in future episodes, but I probably kind of hope not, but we'll see.
She's a cool character.
She's very intense.
The part she's had.
She's very intense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the Imperial part. I love the old school like voiceover for the Silk Planet promo video. Did you hear that? And it's like and if you visit Gorin, you can have your silk pants too. And which I noticed scenes from that is going to be where the finale of this show ends. Because there were some arches and stuff. I think we're going to do an attack there in like not next week but the week after. There's scenes from that planet in the trailer. Something
I missed, their apartment area that they were at, that's in Coruscant, right?
Yeah, that's Coruscant.
Yeah, okay. Because they travel back from where they were to Coruscant, and that's where they live. Okay, just want to make sure.
Yep.
I understood that right.
Yeah, they live down there.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten any big cameos yet. We haven't gotten the Emperor yet. I still think we're going to get an Emperor scene of some sort.
Yeah.
Like a recording. I still do. So now we get into Cerelia? No. Yes. Cerelia.
The nerdy guy?
The wedding planet.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know what that's called.
So Mon Mothma storyline.
Yes, Mon Mothma. The whole wedding spiel leading up to it.
Yeah, Mon Mothma, great actress. I love her character.
Mm-hmm.
So she's stressed. She's basically giving away her child for the rebellion, right? So her best friend guy...
because her child marrying him makes it so that she gets better funding for what she's trying to do secretly with Luthen.
Yes. So
they're doing everything they can to not let that be known.
So her childhood friend, what's his face, that has a crush on her.
Oh, the kid's dad?
No. That's not his dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's so.
Oh, yeah, the other guy was the dad.
The other guy that was
with the beard and long hair, or I think they both have that.
That was the dad of the daughter.
Of the daughter?
That's Mon Mothma's husband.
What was this like? Why are they asking her to be with the other guy? They're like nudging at her, like, "Hey, this guy's single now." Why?
Yeah, that's her husband that was saying that.
Oh.
They were an arranged marriage.
Oh, so he's just like warning her about him?
He was like, I think you're cheating on me, but he doesn't really care because he doesn't love her anyways.
Yeah, wow. That whole relationship is confusing to me there.
So basically, Mon Mothma is arranged marriage, right? And she regretted it.
Mm-hmm.
She's married to a guy with the goatee, and the braided hair.
Yeah.
The longer hair. That's her husband.
Oh.
And they have a daughter together. And
now I understand it when you said that, but that's just a weird relationship.
Technically, her ex-boyfriend is the guy that is helping fund the rebels.
The one that's finding out about their plan. Is that what you're talking about?
He already knew their plan, but
no, the one that Luthen's like about to kill. That's where we
he's been funding the rebellion.
Yeah,
and he knows he's been funding the rebellion.
Yeah.
So basically, he's been putting money in to hide their transactions, but he had to do that through a gangster, which is the father of the groom.
Wow.
The guy who bought the statue.
Oh, yeah.
So he's...
It's a crazy wedding gift, by the way. It was like 1 out of 5 ever.
And they were stolen 25,000 years ago?
Yeah. Well, there was 8 of them. 3 of them haven't been recaptured yet or whatever. Just and then 1 out of 5 that's been there.
Yep.
That's cool.
But like the gangster guy, the father of the groom, he is trying to do this wedding to make his family not look like gangsters anymore, to make them seem like they're in the upper class now.
Huh.
Is like the point of it. But at this point, Mon Mothma's ex-boyfriend, I forget his name. It's like an L. I forget his name. But anyways, he is kind of over the rebellion at this point. And he's in talks. He's like, I think he's going to backstab him if what he's planning on doing with the gangster guy to kind of like blackmail them and expose them to give them power. And I think he's really nervous about it. He doesn't want to. And then that's when Luthen is like, we need to take care of this.
Yeah, Luthen's catching on.
And she's like, what do you mean? I don't know what you're saying.
I know. She's like, I've known him for so long. Like, I think she knows that. I think she knows what he's saying.
Right.
Like she's like,
obviously, I think so.
Yeah, you're gonna kill him, but I've known him for so long.
No.
Give me time to get the numbers, you know. That's what
but I do love the line that Luthen says. So she says, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, that's nice for you, isn't it? Kind of like, that's great that you're kind of like avoiding like the real life thing. And he has to go take care of it.
Luthen allows no loose ends, and that's super cool about his character.
And I think that's why he's kind of becoming, right, he's the whole point, his whole speech last time was he's cursed to use the tools of his enemy.
Yeah.
Like he has to do these things to take care of the rebellion so it doesn't get out.
Yeah.
So then we get so there's one other character in there, the cousin of Mon Mothma, that girl.
Oh
that helped that works with Luthen. Mm-hmm. The other girl that was with her, that ends up being the gal that is going to kill the guy in the end.
Yeah, who works with Luthen. She spotted that as they were leaving.
Right, but they used to be kind of like a thing. So like it was kind of like weird that she's on her planet. I think there was like a betrayal situation. Like, hey, you didn't say you were coming to my planet, because they were like, buds. Huh. So like they hadn't seen each other in like a year. So it was kind of like you're still doing your stuff and I'm not. I don't know. It was like a weird, there was like tension stuff going on, I think.
It's very drama between the two of them.
I think so. I have a great video for you to watch, by the way. You can watch after this.
Sure.
It's Screen Crush's 112 things you might have missed in the Andor premiere. And it tells you everything you might need to know.
Oh, great.
I think you'd really like them. It's pretty cool. But it shows that like Mon Mothma is trying to right the wrongs of her childhood, right? And not make her mother, her daughter.
She was explaining that to her daughter before the wedding. Right, it was like
her daughter was like, no,
my mom was drunk my whole wedding and I was angry at her. And then she was like, but I will say now that it's happening, like I see why she was drunk, and we both talked about it. We're like, she could have said that not so intensely to her, but now her daughter is mad at her, but her daughter, she ended up dancing and getting drunk anyway.
Her daughter really wanted to do the tradition. She likes the traditions.
Yeah.
But again, she's like too young to really make those decisions, and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I will say one cool aspect was there's only one alien species at the wedding.
There's only one?
There's only one character. I think it was the same character walking around. But that's very symbolic of the Imperials. The Imperials don't like other alien species, right? Like in the Empire, you only have humanoids. You only have humans, right?
Interesting.
Right? And like that's only
true.
They really look down on any other species. They use them as like hired help and like all this other stuff. And I think it's interesting showing the upper class people also have this same kind of mindset.
Yeah.
Of like, we don't really have anyone else. It's just our kind. And like, they're kind of like secluded to their own selves and kind of like just kind of being that way, I guess.
This is kind of an extreme way to explain that, but the way I kind of see it, it's almost like the Imperial is like a Nazi group almost.
I mean,
they're wanting to get their own species, and that's it. The entire population, destroy the rest of the world, and that's all it's going to be.
I mean, that is literally what George Lucas based them on.
Oh, really?
Yes.
On Hitler?
Yeah, that's why they're called stormtroopers, because stormtroopers is technically a term of a Nazi, like they had stormtroopers. They had things called stormtroopers.
Wow.
Yeah, I
actually never knew that. That's
he very much based it on.
Very much see it.
And like that's what people say. It's like politics have always been in Star Wars. They've always been based on our own world.
Yeah.
So like having things like immigrants and stuff and like migrant workers doesn't take me out of the experience. It's just like it's supposed to be somewhat of a reflection of our own world.
And that's what's cool about the Rebels too, is it brings this freedom of all types of people not having to be secluded to a certain communist type of role and have to all be the same and look a certain way. It's like, so that's what makes it so cool about the Rebels and Jedis, to be able to come out and fight against this segregation in a way, Yeah.
And that's why we never saw Thrawn in anything, because the Emperor kind of kept Thrawn in the back. Like he was like a Grand Admiral, but he was never really like in the forefront of anything, because the Emperor didn't want people to know that he had like an alien species as a higher up. But he was one of the best.
Yeah.
Grand Moffs, for sure.
I do think though, like, what does that have to say about like people like Darth Maul or something like that, where they're different species kind of?
What about him?
I mean, he's Sith, which is a little different.
They're not in the Empire though.
Yeah, true.
He's not.
I guess I kind of I know I was looking at bad guys and bad guys,
yeah.
but so they are separate. Never
like
mind.
the Imperials hire bounty hunters and stuff, but they're never like in the hierarchy of the Empire itself, of like the actual Empire, of like the military for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. That's so cool that I just never knew that George Lucas based it on that. And now that you say it, I'm like, yeah, it totally is.
Oh yeah, you can really see it.
Yeah.
The biggest complaint I got from one guy was it was too slow. What do you say to that, Ethan? Was the show too slow?
No, I don't think it was too slow. I think in the times that it was slow, it was needed and it made sense.
Yeah.
You know, like some of the slowness of the wheat field, like we talked about, I don't think it was too slow. That part was needed. And that's kind of just Star Wars, you know? Like if you think of a Star Wars movie, there's some slow scenes, but you have to have that build up.
Yeah.
If it's just action and hard packed the whole time, like then that's going to get made fun of, you know?
That works in like a movie because you have like 2.5 hours. Like I've seen some movies where you can have like a lot of action.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the second one, like the animated one. That one's like almost nonstop. And it works. But I just don't think that would work. Like people's like, oh, but Star Wars is always nonstop action. I'm like, is it though? There's a lot of boring stuff in Star Wars.
What I will say though is, to me, the way they're releasing the episodes, like if this is how it's going to keep going in the next episodes, then it does make sense to watch 3 at a time like this.
Yeah.
I think if you're watching one episode at a time
100%.
after the season 2, you're not going to enjoy it as much.
No.
You know, it is going to feel slow on some. It's going to feel like a filler episode.
Oh, yeah. Like if we had to watch these week to week right now, I feel like we wouldn't have much to talk about episode 1.
Definitely not.
Oh, he escaped. Okay, there's some guys. Like, so I love that they're doing the 3 release.
Yeah.
I think it works super well. I love that it's like, it's over. Now we have a year later and 3 BBY, and we're going to have like a new story going on.
And it's the perfect lead into a movie, you know, like Rogue One is what we're leading into, you know.
And I think it'll be a slowly build up, right? Like there is, like you can't have super high stakes in a show like this.
Yeah.
Because you can't blow up the Death Star. And that's what's leading up to. Like those are like so high stakes, but like I think it is going to lead up to like rebel like troops doing stuff and like just like the showing the character development of Andor getting better at his job of being a rebel
and growing the rebel army, you know, like who's going to be good at what and who's going to die off, you know, like sadly that girl at the very beginning that was pretty like scared of what she was doing to help Andor, you know, she's like that type of person you just see probably not going to last a long time in the rebel army, probably dying off, or she really kicks it into gear and all of a sudden becomes this major character. But I don't see that happening with her.
Come back. But what I will say, it is a very similar structure as Rogue One, where we went into it not knowing if anyone would survive, and no one did.
Yeah.
So I think most of these people are going to die in Andor. Like his girlfriend's going to die.
Yeah. I
think Luthen's going to die. Like, I think everyone that's not in Rogue One is.
You think Luthen's going to die?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Really?
Oh, easily. Because he's not in Rogue One.
Yeah. The way I see Luthen is I don't see him dying. I see him just leaving and moving on to the next thing.
No, I think this is it, man. This is his life. He's dying for this. 100%. Not a doubt in my mind. He's dying.
I do see, I bet there's something like major that he sees, this is my time, I'm going to die for this sort of thing. Yeah. So I could see that with him, but the way I see him right now, he's just so good at having no loose ends. You know, he was going to kill Andor because he was a loose end.
Yeah.
You know, and I think
he
has this power to him where he
Andor's
knows
probably going to kill him.
At his highest point, what it needs to do.
Dude, Andor might kill him.
You think Andor is going to kill Luthen?
I think so. I think he's going to become a loose end. He is now the loose end, and I think he's either going to get killed by Andor or he's going to kill himself. Like hot take.
Andor kind of just is a loose end in general,
right? But he is committed to the bit now. He's committed to the rebels. Same with Luthen. Huh. But like Andor's girlfriend Bix is going to die. The hoodie boy's going to die. Like all the Imperials we've seen pretty much are going to die.
Yeah.
Like I think
Mon Mothma's not.
Mon Mothma's not going to die. Andor's not going to die.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all the main characters we have so far. And K2SO. We'll see. I'm curious. I think there's got to be at least, we're getting an Emperor. I think at minimum we're getting an Emperor. That's all I have for Andor premiere. Anything else you got?
I don't think so. It was a good first 3 episodes. I'm glad they're releasing it this way, and I'm excited to talk about the next one.
It was very solid.
I'm just still crossing my fingers and hoping one day Disney listens to our podcast and they do a Tales of the Sith.
Tales of the Sith. You never know. We might get it. But with that, thank you for joining. If you made it this far, you're an insane person. If you did, leave a review. If you're on Spotify, if you're not, I don't know what you're doing. Again, if you have any comments or concerns, message me at Obi-Wan Memeobi on Instagram. And may the Force be with you always.